This episode brought to you by Sunny Days. Who doesn't need a bright blue sky with white fluffy clouds and yellow warm light shining down from above? Well, stop your searching and look no further, for you will find all this and more in Sunny Days. That's right, try Sunny Days for free on me if you use the promo code Hannah the Human. So try it now. Yell Sunny Days wherever you are and see if you can't get a little bright blue sky, white fluffy clouds, and warm yellow light shining down. Again, that's Sunny Days with Hannah the Human. Let's hit that theme song. Oh, nice. We're going for like existential vibes. Hannah the Human. Guys, I'm going to try something fun, new, and exciting today. I've had this thought floating around in my brain even before I started this podcast. This phrase, the inspired word of Hannah. Because for those of you who have read the Bible, it's a weird book. And it just... when I'm in Bible studies, there's so many jokes I hear in my head that I want to say about the passages we're reading. But I have this sense, dare I say, the guiding of the Holy Spirit, that my jokes wouldn't go off so well in the middle of the Bible studies that I'm part of. And usually the jokes come to me when I'm bored, critical, or unengaged. And responding from that motive isn't necessarily the best for promoting atmospheres of love, curiosity, and kindness. But this podcast is for me to say whatever I want. And so I think we're going to crack open the Word of God, the Bible today, and try out a theme, a little segment that is going to be the whole entire podcast. So it's not really a segment. It's just maybe a reoccurring podcast type of episode. We'll see, but for sure I'm doing it this time. The inspired word of Hannah. So, listen up here. I've got my study Bible that I've actually never used. It's just sat on my shelf. It was given to me. It's the NIV, the New International Version, which is nice because it's not like old-time English, thou and thee and wouldest, goest, stayest, mayest, that you might have heard in King James or something like that. It's not quite as paraphrased as like the NLT or these other letters, Basically, all these letters just stand for stuff, like NIV, New International Version, NLT, New Living Translation, CJB, Complete Jewish Bible, NKJV, New King James Version, NASB, New American Standard Bible. Oh, I think I got it. Is this a homeschooler winning the Bible quiz over here? I never was part of those, but I'd hear about them. Anyway, back to the inspired word of Hannah. We're going to just crack open the gold-plated thin pages of an ancient translated book and read a little. And what better story than a classic from the first book in the Bible, Genesis. And since I'm all about context here and deep intellectual comprehension of the Bible, I must let you know that Genesis is a word that is translated from the Hebrew word Bereshit. I did not swear there. I just said a poor pronunciation of a Hebrew word. And I'm pretty sure the Bereshit means beginning. Actually, take that back. I'm 110% confident, minus probably 90%, that Bereshit means beginning. And I do want to let you know, the Inspired Word of Hannah, we aren't Googling anything. I'm just sitting here with a paper Bible, taking it back to the roots. Oh, people who grew up reading the Bible are going to think this is super funny. And those of you who have no context with the Bible are going to be like, you might not listen to this one. And also probably people who really love the Bible might not make it through this one either. But but they probably will if they have any sense of humor. All right. Well, this is so fun. Oh, I'm glad I chose this topic. I can see this. This is definitely going to be reoccurring. Wow, there are so many notes in this study Bible. It's distracting me. And I do want to make a very scholarly note that both the Christian Bible, the Protestant Christian Bible, and the Catholic Bible, and the Jewish Bible, called the Tanakh, that was 100% correct pronunciation of a Hebrew word that means something. All of those different Bibles all have Genesis as the first book. That's got to mean something. In fact, it does. It means that we are going to start reading. We are going to pick up in Genesis chapter 29, verse 16. It starts out by saying, now Laban had 2 daughters. So pause. Let's get some more context, because this is the beginning of one story, but it's a story in amongst other stories. So let's just clarify who these characters are. Laban is a relative of Jacob and his family, and Jacob is trying to find a wife for himself, but he wants to make sure that she's cool and cool and whatever, and not from one of the tribes of people that they don't trust. And so he goes back to Laban, a relative of his family's, to find a wife. So basically this is Alabama. He's going to go marry a cousin. Or is that Arkansas? I don't know. We all just joke around about the southern states, but I don't actually know anybody who's married their cousin. But again, I don't live in Arkansas, Alabama, Missouri, Mississippi. I don't live in any of those. So maybe they do down there. But this story is about Laban. So we've got the character of Laban. Then we've got the character of Jacob. And then we're about to be introduced to 2 other characters. Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Okay, I think we've got enough context for me just to read this lovely story to you, so then we can really hear through it the inspired word of Hannah. Beginning again at Genesis 29:16. Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Okay, I've just pause here. Leah had weak eyes. You know all those weak-eyed women. They aren't turning heads. No. I'm sure that's an idiom that means she wasn't as hot as her younger sister. I bet that's a Hebrew idiom that means that. I know this because I am the inspired word of Hannah. So now that we've made note of that, and made note of the fact that Jacob's in love with Rachel, the one that doesn't have the weak eyes, the one described as lovely in form and beautiful. Whoa, it uses 2 descriptions. Leah just gets 1. She had weak eyes. So then Jacob says to Laban, Rachel and Leah's dad, I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter, Rachel. Laban said, it's better that I give her to you than to some other man. Stay here with me. Wow, isn't that nice of him? So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Okay, just pause real quick. in my last few episodes ago, I talked about purity culture and, how you got to wait to have sex before marriage. And then it's all this whole big thing and big deal. What I always wondered, as I would read this passage of scripture surrounded by all these people who, waited to hold hands before they were engaged. I always wondered, man, why are we so afraid that everyone's going to have sex and stuff when Jacob waited 7 years to marry this girl and he liked her? Also, that's an impressively long crush, but he was motivated. Just goes to show, sucks to have weak eyes. Leah didn't motivate him, but Rachel did. Anyway, so now that we know that Jacob worked his butt off for 7 years, and they only seemed like a few days, here we go, verse 21. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to lie with her." I would try that line, for all the young men out there wanting to no longer be single. I would try that. I would find a woman you like and I would go work for her dad. That's what I would do. And then maybe at 7 years into working, I would knock on that guy's office door and I would say, "Hey, my time is completed. I want to lie with your daughter." That's what I would say. Try that one, okay? If you're still single, then you've got issues. Because this one is bound to work. Or is it? Let's keep reading. So Jacob says to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed. I want to lie with her." It just gets me how direct that is, He's like, just imagine that. Imagine if that happened in wedding ceremonies, guys. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, the pretty bride is walking down. And the groom reaches out his hand, holds her hand, turns to the father who has walked her down the aisle and says, "Give me this woman. I want to have sex with her." And then they embrace. All right. We could start that. I might have to start that tradition with my wedding. Probably not, but maybe. So Jacob says that to Laban. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob. And Jacob lay with her. Oh my gosh. I change my mind. I don't think it'll work, young men. I don't think it'll work to just walk up to a dude and say, "Let me have sex with your daughter." I changed my mind. It didn't work for Jacob. He got the wrong one. He got the weak eyes. But Jacob must have been pretty weak from the feasting to mistake her. Yeah, anyway, so let's keep reading. So when evening comes, Laban gives Leah to Jacob. I'll pause real quick about this. Are Rachel and Leah with everybody feasting? Has Jacob been hanging out with Rachel, being so excited? "I'm going to sleep with you tonight." And then Laban does a little swap on the way to the bedroom or something? We don't know. These details are left out. Maybe for good reason. But what we do know is it says, "And Laban gave his servant girl, Zilpah, to his daughter as her maidservant." Okay, good. That, by the way, I'm letting you guys know. That's a good fact to know because later Jacob makes both of the maidservants into his wives as well. It was just wild back then in those times, in the times of Bereshit. All right, so after that little fact about maidservants, when morning came, there was Leah. Whoopsies. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" Laban said, "Dude, if you're too drunk not to notice that it's the wrong woman, did I do anything wrong?" No, he didn't say that. He said, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Finish this daughter's bridal week, And then we will give you the younger one also, in return for another 7 years of work. Oh, my, wheelin' and dealin'. Guys, I still can't get over the fact. Oh, this is why you shouldn't do drugs or get drunk, kids. You may wake up to realize you married the wrong person. Oh, let's keep reading this story. And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah. And then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Well, that's nice. See, he didn't have to wait another 7 years. He just had to keep working 7 more, but he only had to wait another week for Rachel. Oh, this is just, we read these stories, right? You even read them as kids or whatever in the Bible story book of then Jacob, got tricked by Laban and was given Leah as a wife. But then he married Rachel, and it sounds weird. But then if you really think about it now as an adult, it says that Jacob finished the week with Leah. I'm assuming that week wasn't just taking strolls. I assume that week was in the same bed that he got tricked in. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming that was a week of marital bliss, but maybe just physical bliss, because Jacob wasn't in love with the weak-eyed person that he was having sex with for a week. It's just so confusing, It's also really funny that that purity culture came out of this. Maybe it's because all of this crazy stuff happened in the Bible and they read it, so they were like, oh my gosh, every man is a lying, deceiving father and a drunken young boy who gets women confused and ends up, marrying wrong people. Anyway, but let's just finish with this story here. So Jacob gets Rachel to be his wife, and Laban gave his servant girl Bilhah to his daughter Rachel as her maidservant. Jacob lay with Rachel also, and he loved Rachel more than Leah. Oh, well, isn't that... And, let's just finish the story. And he worked for Laban another 7 years. Oh, wow. I mean, I've read so many verses of the Bible to you. Are you saved yet? Have you been transformed by the washing of the word? Because I know I have. My goodness, this is a good one. I mean, it's hard to rejoice in the climax, literally, of Jacob and Rachel, but because of all the other stuff that has gone on. But, I remember as a kid being told this story, and it was like, oh, isn't that happy? Then he got to end up with the woman he loves. For he loved Rachel more than Leah. And, just poor Leah, Oh, shoot, guys, I just realized I'm the oldest daughter of my family. I could easily become a Leah. So we have to take a poll. Are my eyes weak or not? Am I going to get passed over or not? I could definitely see this happening, though. My younger sister, Millie, is just, she gets crushed on all the time. And let's just say she's got options, but she's focused on acting and other great stuff. And so, no, she kindly friend zones people. But one of these days, what if I do truly have weak eyes, folks? And I'm out here in the dangerous world of the 30s, and the eldest is unwed. Maybe Leah's just like, she gave up on life, so being the second favorite wife, also known as the least favorite, was enough for her. Either way, this is an interesting story, and we can learn so much from this. So let's break it down, because the inspired word of Hannah is meant to truly inspire you, to give you steps for living a biblical life. So first off, the first point we can get from this story is, and I'm remembering by saying this right now, I'm remembering there's this scene in Fiddler on the Roof where Perchik is teaching this story to, Perchik is a character in the movie, musical, and he's teaching this story to these girls that he's tutoring. And oh, I'm remembering now, his point that he made was, this is why you can never trust your employer. Oh, that just came to me. But the point I was going to make is, first off, we can clearly glean from the story is that it is best to spend your wedding night with all the fluorescent lights on. No veils, no darkness, no secrecy. No. We need to avoid marrying the wrong people at all costs. Second, what I get from this is we all need to strengthen our eyes. So I've actually created a Weak to Strong Eyes program. You can just sign up for just $100 a month. And it's an app on your phone, and it gives you plenty of really handy and useful eye strengthening exercises so that you can go from a Leah to a Rachel. I mean, the slogan wrote itself, really. So if you want, just for that handy dandy price of $100 a month, you too can join this exclusive app experience and share your progress along the way. For another $20, you can share your progress with everyone else on their Weak to Strong Eyes journey. Well, I hope you enjoyed. No, I hope you grew from. I hope you learned deeply and were transformed by the inspired word of Hannah. But truly, the inspired word of Hannah exists for enjoyment, because everywhere you turn, you can find teachers and Bible paraphrases and all this stuff that are going for inspiration, enlightenment, encouragement, deeper understanding. But really only at the inspired word of Hannah will you find whatever I gave you. I definitely had great fun tearing open the Bible and sharing a story with you. There's so many passages that are truly beautiful that move me deeply when I read them. They happen to mostly be the poetry parts, where it's like talking in poetry about how good God is or what the world is and all this stuff. It's beautiful. I also really love the Gospel of John. It's so beautiful. The first bit, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things were created into being from Him, and apart from Him, there is nothing. In Him was light, and the light was the light of the world. That's good. Oh, I said that wrong. It's in Him was life, and the life was the light of the world. I think that's what it says. Like I said, no Googling here. I memorized John. I think I memorized the first 5 chapters at least, but I only remember the very beginning of chapter 1 because I love it so much. So as you can see, there are parts of the Bible that just are so awesome, but man, there are so many stories that just, like the one we read today, or I'll be reading along and something will jump out to me, like this time, even different aspects of that story jumped out that even though I've read it so many times and laughed over it so many times, there's just new facets of craziness everywhere you turn. But I am not going to elongate this any longer than it is because we have come to the end. However, as we all know, it cannot be the end until I give you a little snippet of creativity. So I'm going to play for you a little song. It's not yet finished. I've had it in the hopper for a long time, but I thought it'd be appropriate because the song is based off of some Bible verses. Psalm 23 is the inspiration for this song. So here we go. 2 verses and a couple choruses. Have I sat by the still waters? Have I been led down green paths? Am I holding your hand? Am I holding your hand? Because right now my eyes see the shadows, not your presence walking by my side. I hear the rocks crying out fear, but I know they're singing praise. So undry me,
Untry me, place your oil on my head, and untry me, place your oil on my head once again. I find myself in the mountains, hiding from my future, but there's a feast before me. Yes, there's a feast before me. For surely though I parch myself, surely still your waters will pursue me. And I'll drink your loving kindness and believe that you are good. So untry me, place your oil on my head. Untry me, place your oil on my head once again.
Well, folks, this has been a nice little short episode. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Peace out.